But I lied to myself. I'm like, that's what I want. I chased the money. Instead of chasing my dream, I chased the money. And guess what? Most of my 20s, I was broke. I chased the money and I was broke.
It's funny how that works,
now
right?
I go back into my original dream and, now I'm doing good again.
You're listening to the Kristof Lewis Podcast, a podcast where I have conversations with inspirational people. My name is Chris, but my family calls me Kristof. My goal is to have as many conversations as possible with people who have forged their own path by pursuing their dreams, making them a reality, all the while emitting positivity and sharing this knowledge with others. I seek these people out and share this information with you, proving to the world that you can do what makes you happy and do what you want for a living while being a good human being. We'll talk about careers, but we'll also cover any story that inspires. Let's do this while helping each other. Thanks for listening. I'm happy you're here. All right. What's up, my friends? Welcome to the Kristof Lewis Podcast. This is conversation number 71, and I'm so excited that you're here. If you are here for the very first time, thank you. If this is not your first time, thank you. This is Conversations with Inspirational People. This is one of two segments within the Kristof Lewis Podcast. The other segment is Contemplations with Kristof, where I contemplate ideas and recap the conversations that are with the guests. My conversation today is with Jacob Ramus, who successfully transitioned out of the Navy after 10 years of honorable service. This podcast is great for people in the military, and people out of the military can find a lot of great value in here too, because not only is it military transition, but it is career transition. It is ultimately transitioning into the life you want, creating the life you want. So we give a lot of helpful pointers all the way from how we prepared to it, the mentality behind it, what things to do, what things to look for, where to go, what social media to use, questions to ask, who to ask. And I really wanted to ask, also, how's it going now that you're transferred? How does it feel? Is it what you expected? And it was fun. So I encourage you to stay all the way through, and you will gain a lot of value from this conversation. Know that you can find this conversation, the contemplations, and the book challenge on kristoflewis.com/podcast or /book challenge. So without further ado, welcome to the Kristof Lewis Podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, very excited to be here.
It's so fun, man. It's cool going back. We go back years. Both got out of the Navy. Both had a transition recently within the last year. And I think it's so exciting to just see somebody else, somebody that I knew before we were both out. We were having conversations, and we were kind of like game planning, like, what are you going to do? Well, I don't know. What are you going to do? And like, well, this is what I'm doing, and this is maybe what would work for you, and this is what would work for me. And it's just cool to see that we both followed through, because it's obviously not for everybody. Not everybody does it, but I had my reasons, you had your reasons. So it's cool to see a friend just successfully transfer out, because not a lot of people do. But one of the reasons I really wanted to bring you on here specifically is because of just what I just said. We were talking for like months, and I know we were both prepping, like, honestly, years out. And you can, you don't have to prep like that and get out and get a job. But to me, like, I don't like leaving anything to chance, like, as much as I can. So, I'm going to do that. So, I just want to say, man, I'm really excited to see what you're doing and everything. So I just want to say that's awesome. I'm happy to have you here. And if anybody doesn't know you, can you just give like a little bit of a background before we get into some things?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been 10 years in the Navy, joined a little late. We'll get into that later on. But last 5 of that was on the Special Forces side doing tactical communications. And then, just recently got out and basically was able to go from, I'd say, an E5 to a flag officer equivalent.
Yeah.
I'm nobody special. It's just the work that I put in. What I put in is what I got out of it.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, that's the same thing with me. And if this happens to be the first podcast that you're listening to, this is conversation number 71 already. And I was in the Navy for 9 years. I came in a little bit later as well. I was 22 in boot camp, college dropout. So we have like similar time in the military, but we both prepped a lot. And you're right. Like, I was happy in the Navy. I had a good time. I enjoyed the people I worked with, but I felt that the work that I did, wasn't indicative of like the quickness, if you will, of my promotions, like the ability to promote, because like, just like you, I worked in naval special warfare as well. And every time I went to go study for a test, I was just like, man, I just, this is nothing I've ever done. And I would study my ass off, and it never worked. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like, I'm seeing a lot of other people that really are not putting in a lot of work, and maybe just because they've been on a ship for a while and they're getting in. And I really am not wanting to sound like I'm making excuses. And that's why I got out. So regardless of the outcome, like, that's one of the reasons I got out, is because I knew that I could make it farther. And I put in the work I started in the end of 2015 and I got out in 2018. So it was 2.5 years that I was preparing, and I was studying and I was studying and I was studying. So then the same thing, like, I go from E5 to up there in the officer pay, like, really, like, not just entry level officer pay. So it's definitely feasible. And obviously Jacob and I are not boasting in any way. We just want to kind of open up the possibilities that are out there. If you do prepare and you work your ass off, that's key, that there are possibilities out there. But I kind of want to know, like, it's always interesting to me to ask the question, you were in 10 years, I was in 9. I've shared a lot with my reasons, but I want to talk to you, and I kind of want to know what were your reasons to get out of the military at around 10 years.
So exactly the same thing that you brought up is
Sure.
Your promotion is for the most part out of your control. And that didn't sit well with me, especially because I was, busting my butt and really hustling. And I was in a position where I was able to take the exam a year early, do all this stuff. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it still didn't matter, because it came down to numbers. Yeah. And it came down to that particular exam that had nothing to do with my daily job.
Yeah.
So that, I really struggled with that. And that was a really hard concept for me to wrap my head around. And granted, I did stay in 10 years. It was a great place to be, great people. But at the end of the day, I was ultimately, just like you, I was looking to have a faster pace at that growth. There were, people would tell me, they're like, oh, just put in an OCS package. I'm like, well, I put one in once.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you didn't get picked up? No, because I didn't have a STEM degree. That's what it came down to.
Exactly.
My package was perfect, and now I'm glad I didn't. But they're like, well, you got to keep putting it in. I'm like, well, okay, so 6 years from now, I never get picked up. What was all of this for?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's tough, man. I had the same thing happen. I wanted to get out, and at the time it was tough. I should preface it with that. It was tough because I was like, oh man, I have to stay in. I have to do this. I have this safety net, as everybody describes it, of the Navy.
It's hard. It's hard to make that choice.
Yeah, because it's not like you're not paying your bills and you're eating scraps. Like, you're in that good Goldilocks zone where you're making enough to obviously get by and do the things you want to do for the most part. And you have all of your medical paid, you have all of your dental paid, and so you can tack on easily 25%, as they say, to your earnings, and that's how much you make relatively. So it's hard to leave that, and it's like impossible to get kicked out. Really, it's really hard. So when you have all that stuff, it's like, well, can I just sit here and coast, is I think what some people ask themselves, because they really don't have to do too much. You don't get a lot of attention on yourself, but people like us, I'm just not satisfied with that. I know you were just not satisfied with that. And I had a lot of people telling me, like, especially me, being a college dropout, they're like, you need college. Like, always the Chiefs, like, you need college. You're not going to get anywhere without that. You're not going to get anywhere without this. And I was like, no way. I'm going to leverage all of the experience that I've had in the military. And I know I want to go into IT. You and I have both done similar things. So I just started I just went on the online, like I always say, all the information is there. So I just started studying Linux. I started studying whatever. And I just self-taught myself everything. And then I leveraged my experience from the Navy to get me through the interview, coupled with the studying that I did for the technical aspects of that as well. Did you experience a similar thing?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is coming from somebody who has their master's and even thinking about, doctoral programs for reasons I don't know why yet. But even coming from me, like, those degrees are worthless. They really are. Honest to God. I got my master's of science in cybersecurity, and garbage. For me, it was literally just a check in the box. So when they say, you got to get your degree, you got to get your degree. In the IT field, you can do whatever you want with no degree.
Yeah, certifications are huge. And even, like, I didn't have a lot of great certifications. I had my basic certifications, your A, your S, and your N+. And that's all I had. And essentially is like, I was explaining it to somebody today. Actually, my therapist, I was going for my neck. Some people know that, I have this neck injury now. And I'm talking to my therapist. He obviously has college, and I'm like telling him pretty much the same thing I just told you. I was like, it boils down to I was coachable. I want to work hard.
Yeah.
And I'm coachable. I'm able to take directions. You're able to teach me things, and I'm able to apply them, and I do it at a high rate of speed. So that's ultimately what it boils down to, and it's sad because I've been turned down from just some jobs because I didn't have a college degree. And a college degree can be applicable to some jobs, but it's just not this end-all be-all that's always applicable. Like, you and I are doing well. I'm comfortable right now in where I'm at. I can pay my bills. I can take care of my family, and I haven't had that. But in the military, from my experience, it is that check in the box. It is that, like, if you're going up for board, you have to have this, you have to have college, you have to have work center supervisor, you have to have this and that and this and that. And it's just a check in the box to put you above somebody else. Because if you have all the same things, but you don't have college, then the other guy or girl wins. And that's not how it is in the outside world. The qualified person, the person that wants to work hard, the person, again, that I said is coachable, that person with a good hiring manager, that person will get recognized and then absolutely hired over the other person.
Yeah, and you pointed out something too I want to touch on is you were able to take your military experience and articulate it into a manner that it made sense to everybody else. And
sure.
And I think that's huge because, I would see some of the resumes that come across from service members getting out, and I try to, help the community that I came from as much as possible because, that's how I got here too. And I'll see some of them and I have to help explain to them, you're selling yourself to a broader audience now. You're not selling yourself to some sergeant major anymore, so you really have to tweak all of these acronyms and make them applicable to, the outside world. And obviously you were able to do that too.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely one thing that helped me a lot. Granted, the degree and the CISSP and all other certs, they helped. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing was articulating the experience. And like you said, the coachability. I mean, if a good hiring manager or anybody really sees that they can mold you into being capable of doing whatever they need you to do, none of that other stuff matters.
Absolutely. So the point I want to make that I want to tie together here with what we're saying is that in the military, you're in a lot of high stress situations. Like, I don't care what your rank is or what your job is, more than likely you're going to be in a high stress situation, whether it's on deployment or I don't even care if it's in a shore command. Some things get absolutely crazy. Things are super time sensitive. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking about, you're kind of teetering on to get out or to stay in, and you think, well, I can't make it because I don't have maybe a degree in the right field, or I don't have the certifications, or I don't have college. Well, you're listening to two guys. One guy has a college degree. One guy is a college dropout, but we both leveraged what we're talking about, all of that stress that oh my gosh, I can think of so many times off the top of my head that it was just applicable to like any situation. They're like, can you fix things under stress? Can you learn them quickly and apply them? And I'm like, yes, this is what I've done. 1, 2, 3. These are the things. So I'm just saying, if you're listening to us and you're kind of teetering because of that, don't be. Like, have more confidence in yourself. It's one of the things I talk about so much is selling ourselves short. Don't sell yourself short. Like, look back on your career. Honestly, if you're if you're in the military, you have evals. So hopefully you've been writing good evals. And honestly, I pulled a lot of stuff from my evals. But one of the things you said is you have to articulate that to the, commercial sector. They're not going to understand everything. So I want to go even further to yet another thing you said is helping other people. So now you've done it. I've done it. I offer all the time to help people. It sounds like you offer to help people because people have done that for us. So we want to continue that and continue to pay it forward and help people in that manner, because why not? If we've already done it, then we're just like, hey, do it this way. Because it's just like, it's not that you're doing your resume wrong or anything. It's just that you may not know. And because you've been, like, if you're in the military for 10 years and you see these acronyms and you write things a certain way, you might not, just that's what it is to you. That's the way you write things, and you perceive them. Like, it's so easy to understand all these things. So getting an outside perspective, somebody that's maybe already done it, is a good thing to do. And I think that's just a great point there. No matter what you want to do in life, I don't care. Like, I understand this episode is a little bit more military driven right now, but honestly, you can take all these things into any career transition, no matter what you want to do. If there's somebody out there that's already doing what you want to do, hit them up. Like LinkedIn is amazing for that. Honestly, you just go on the LinkedIn, you type in the career you want, literally thousands of people come up, and then you can find them, message them, and just boom, it's unlimited. There's no excuse. So you can do it. And then if you need to learn something techie, I'm not tech savvy at all, or at least I wasn't. And I just went on YouTube and I just did it, YouTube video after YouTube video after YouTube video. And then I built my own computer with a Linux operating system, and I got my hands on stuff like that. So just go out there and apply it. And if you really want it, I honestly think that individual can get it and make it happen, you know?
It definitely goes back to your drive and your motivation and your vision. So that was something, that I've always had an IT goal in my life, I guess you could say. Yeah. I started when I was 12 years old, reformatting my dad's computer to put Linux on it, and then learning what formatting a hard drive does, and then I had to explain that to him. But, I kind of lost my vision when I was like 18, 19. I wanted to go into sales. I saw, the guy in the fancy car, Maserati at my job, who was the financial advisor. I'm like, I want to do that. Well, I kind of knew I wasn't good at sales. But I lied to myself. I'm like, that's what I want. I chased the money. Instead of chasing my dream, I chased the money. And guess what? Most of my 20s, I was broke. Yeah. I chased the money and I was broke.
It's funny how that works.
Now I go back into my original dream, and, now I'm doing good again.
Yeah.
So it's like you said, I think there's a couple parts. It's one, you got to put in the time. And the other one is you got to have the passion, And it's the same thing like what you're doing now with these videos. These videos are going to explode. They're going to take off because you have the passion. Remember when I was doing the videos and you're like, why are you doing it? And I'm like, I don't know. If I had a passion for it, I wouldn't, but I don't know. And guess what? I didn't even get, through the first couple of videos, and then I was
I mean, because anything that just takes, I've been doing it about a year and a half now, and anything that just takes a lot of work, like obviously video and podcast editing, and like am a one-man band. I do everything by myself, everything, the recordings, the post, everything. And when you're doing something that's so time consuming, you're right. If you're not passionate about it, it's nothing hasn't heard before, but it truly, honestly, it's a great example. And I appreciate you bringing it up. If you don't really want to do it, then when it gets maybe annoying, or you're tired, or you're not going to do it. I do get I love doing the podcast, but that doesn't mean I don't get annoyed by sometimes I'm up late. It's 11 p.m. and I have to get up at 5:30 and I'm editing or whatever it is. And sometimes I just don't feel like doing it, but I have to do it because I have deadlines, and that's why I set deadlines. So if you're doing anything like content creating, you have to set a goal of I'm going to do a podcast a week, or I'm going to put out one piece of artwork a week, or I don't care what it is, but you have to set some kind of tangible goal. Because if you don't meet that, or if you don't have that, then you're less likely to meet that. So even for career advancement, or I should say career transition, whether you're in the military or whether you're a civilian, just you want to go to a different career, I think you need to, even especially if you're a civilian, you don't have that timeline of your contract ending in the military. So set a goal for yourself and be by this date in this year, this is when I want to have another job. So then work yourself backwards and be what do I need to do to get there? What would I need to learn? Who do I need to talk to get to that job? And then just, write a game plan, a business plan for your transition or for whatever you want to do. And frankly, I don't give a shit if it's a career transition or just something you really want to do in life. Set a goal and then work backwards from that and then take a step forward.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. At the end of the day, even if you have all the passion in the world, again, it's hard. You got to put the work in. So
yeah, man. And would you say two things? And I guess I'll approach them separately. But one, we were both very prepared. I said that, and it still wasn't easy. I had a lot of tough times. I had a lot of stressful times. But was there anything that stood out to you that was just you maybe thought you were teetering on getting back and staying in the military, or something that was a big roadblock that was really hard for you to get over to be able to be in a position to get and secure a job on the outside, if you will?
So yes and no. So no, I knew without a doubt I was going to get out of the military.
Love that.
Now, yes, there were some doubts that I was scared. I didn't know,
Yeah.
because it's kind of like the military is not that much different than the civilian sector when it comes to jobs and job titles. And the IT and cybersecurity realm, it's even worse. You can have a data analyst or a cybersecurity analyst, but at 100 different companies, you're going to have 80 different jobs. So going through the transition of like, all right, what do I want to do? What is that job called? Learning all of that was very frustrating. And yeah, there were times where I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to land on my feet where I want to.
Yeah.
Either way, I knew I was going to jump.
Yes. Yeah.
That was without a doubt.
Yeah.
But the closer I got to it and the more research I did, it did help. And I was able to kind of come up with a little solid pitch for the exact position I wanted, and was able to narrow down those job titles to at least 10.
Okay.
Because there's hundreds out there for the type of work we can do.
Yeah, it's overwhelming, or it can be overwhelming if you don't define it.
But
yeah.
The whole knowing, like you said, knowing a set date that contract's going to end.
Yeah, that was
helpful.
That's
going to be our last paycheck. Knowing for 2 years up until that, and nobody really wanting to give you the time of day until the last 30 days.
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's really not easy.
Stressful. Yeah, and that word's come up quite a bit. I know I was super stressed out. And there are positions, like a lot of people, like Jacob's saying here, a lot of people, if you're in the military, won't interview you until 30 days out. I actually got really, I will say, lucky. I was able to be interviewed and hired 6 months before my end of service. So that, I think, was a special case. I don't know if all companies do that, but it's available out there and you can do that.
Well, for who you work for, they're, I guess, a more, modern and cutting edge type company, kind of like Google. A lot of the older companies, I'd say a lot of companies that have been around longer don't have something like that in place, but there is a shift that I've seen.
Okay, that's interesting.
To recognize the value in service members and the need to be able to reach out to them a lot further out and do better, I guess, personnel planning and hiring, so that way they're capable of making those decisions 6, 8, 10 months out, rather than, hey, this job opened up, we have 30 days, let's scramble to fill it. So it's kind of like twofold. They're working, internally on that, but I've seen a lot of growth in the companies reaching out and trying to go, the veteran route. I guess it's kind of the new cool thing to do, which is good for us.
It is really good for us, and I just don't know if a lot of people know that that's a thing. So that's why I want to kind of spread awareness to be like, hey, you don't need to rush into the last month that you get out. There are options. There are companies out there that hire well in advance. And then after I got hired 6 months before I got out, man, that's a good feeling. For 6 months, I know I'm still getting a paycheck, and I know my paychecks are going to overlap for a little bit, and I got a job. That's what I'm saying. If you can do something, do it. Preload the work. I've always talked about, in the military, for me, I was always preloading my gear. As an NSW comms guy, you just, or whatever you're doing, I don't really care, but especially as that, I was always preloading my radios, doing comms checks, making sure everything worked so that when I needed to use it, I knew it worked and I didn't have to worry about it up until that point when I had to act. So preload your stuff. That's the one thing I learned. So back, I got out in August of last year. I started in December of 15, and then I got hired in February of 18. So 6 months before, about six and a half months before. So it's possible. And then I'm saying for 6 months, I was I felt pretty good because I knew I had a job, and I knew I had a better job that I would like more than what I was doing at that current time. And really that's what it boils down to, is doing as much as you can now to save yourself the grief and the stress later. If you can do it, just do it.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, it goes back to, you gotta put that effort in. And as we've seen people transition out and they've done nothing, and then they're confused and don't know why they don't have job offers when they never even applied. Yeah,
so that's the thing that I've tried to beat through this podcast, at least, is a lot of preparation and just really having a goal and going after it. Because if you want to get out, I think just getting out is not a good enough goal, because I saw a lot of people that said they want to get out, and they get out and they're not doing anything. And I just feel for them. even if you don't have a family or kids, you shouldn't do that to yourself, right? So to have a plan, again, like I'll beat it to death, like have a plan and just go after it, and you release your stress. Because you could tell people, like people would tell me, oh, it's okay, I'll be fine. But I think deep down, or maybe not, I could be wrong, and maybe this is just me, but I think deep down people they really want to have the job. They're just telling other people they don't care, so maybe they don't have to do the work or whatever it is. But I know me, like I don't want to see people in that position. So that's part of the podcast, is to help other people, like you were saying, to help people write resumes, help people get out of the military, help people change their jobs, whatever it is. So if you're listening to this and you're confused about anything, obviously you could reach out to anybody that's already done it. Like we said, you could reach out to literally us very easily. And, people like us will help you as well. But have a plan, and don't put yourself in a position where you're just kind of twiddling your thumbs and you think you're going to figure it out on your terminal leave, because that terminal leave is going to go really quick. And come on, if you have terminal leave, I would want you to enjoy it.
Yeah, or collect 2 paychecks. That's not bad either.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I did. I think I figured out how to do that. I do a little bit of both for like a couple of weeks. Like I even had a double overlap. So I was on terminal leave, still getting paid, and then I overlapped my job a little bit. So
nice. That was a good balance. I was trying to take a 2-week break and then have 2 paychecks for 6 weeks. Because I had 60 days of terminal leave I was taking, so it was a pretty good amount. However, they wanted me immediately, so I didn't get to take any break, unfortunately. But that was 2 months of 2 paychecks, so it was nice. But I would have liked my 2-week little break.
It is nice, but that's a good problem to have. So I always talk about like the good stress in life. There is such thing as good stress, and that is a position too where you most definitely have good stress. You had a good job, very thankful for that. So I'll take that any day.
Yeah, and I had a good stress moment was when I accepted my job offer. I had 7 job offers that week that I was trying to make a decision, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, that's silly. How are you going to be stressed out about that?" I'm like, this was more stressful than the month prior when I didn't have anything yet. Mm-hmm. Because at least then there was just nothing. Okay, if I had 1 job offer, cool. It's like a yes or no. When you have 7. Now you're trying to, within 48 hours, determine the best job, the best pay, the best location, the best future, the best scope of job that'll fit you, and
I guess that
like
just,
you said, it's a good stress.
Yeah, it is a good stress. Yeah, and I guess it just depends on the individual, right? I mean, I was gonna say maybe how would you recommend, or what would you recommend to somebody in a similar situation? But I suppose it depends where you want to be geographically, and because I would encourage people, maybe somebody will disagree with me, but I would encourage people not to just go for the highest paying job. There's so many other things, many other things to consider.
Absolutely. Yeah, you definitely have to look at the whole package, because even I knew going in, and just, being older, I knew it wasn't just about the money, but when you see the money, you start getting emotional. It's hard to keep your mind clear and to really make the best decision long term. You got to think about, how is this going to be in 5 years from now? Is this hour and a half commute going to break me down? Or, you got to factor in stuff like that. That extra long commute can then make that offer kind of break even. So now you're breaking even, but now you're spending this time out of your day to,
Absolutely, yeah, because you're getting time back, right? You're getting time back. We have so many people here. I'm in DC, and there's so many people, just 1, because of the area, and 2, because of the DC traffic, but they're traveling. I think the farthest one I know is at probably around 2 hours, but that's insane because that's 4 hours a day. So 4 hours of your day on top of your 8 or 9 hour work day. So you really have to figure out, like, well, maybe it pays 10, 20, 30, maybe even more, pays more money than that, but is it really worth it to you to 4 hours a day you're just driving in your car? And especially if you have a family, that's 4 hours more that you're away from your family. So now 12 hours of the day, 13 hours of the day, 14 hours of the day, you're away from your family, you're away from your home, you're not relaxing, you're engaged, you're in traffic, you're stressed out, you're going to work. So I just want to people to do exactly what you said. Just look at everything, figure out where you want to be geographically. Where do I want to be in 5 years? Where do I want to be? Something like that, right? Because man, when you're right, when you do see those numbers, you're like, wow, I could do that job. I could figure out how to like that job, but that's only going to last for so long. And like,
Yeah.
again, like even on passion projects, if you don't really enjoy a job too much, even though the pay's good, I mean, somebody again might argue me, but I would beg to differ that maybe the pay's good and maybe you'll stay there for a long time, but you're not going to be that happy. So you really have to do what makes you the most happy and provides the best pay. And you have to just take all of those together and make the best decision.
Yeah. And I mean, when you take your sleeping hours out, that's half your
Yeah.
life. That's a long time to just kind of, deal with it. I don't want to deal with half my life. I want to enjoy all of it.
That's exactly what I'm saying, man. And that's what I'm trying to have people figure out with this podcast is just don't deal with your life. It's create your career. It's create the life you want. So we did that. We spent years in the military figuring out, creating the life we wanted, figuring out where we wanted to live, figuring out the job we wanted to do. And one of the things you said way back earlier, you said something along the line of made me think that I just wanted to get my foot in the door somewhere so to be able to have a
Right.
successful transition. And then once you have that transition under your belt, you're a lot more comfortable to be able to move laterally, maybe within that organization or within the sector, or you have that on your resume now and you can move, outside of that sector into something else because they've seen that you're already successfully transferred out of the military and that you are, adequate enough or competent enough to get a job outside of the military. So
Right.
to me, it really was just getting my foot in the door somewhere. And then as I've gotten in there, I've been able to work myself up vertically. But you can have those vertical and lateral movements. It's really up to you. But as long as you commit and do all that prep work, you should be all right.
Right, exactly. And it goes back to what you mentioned earlier is knowing, the skills that you have and knowing what you're worth. A lot of people, a few people, they were like, they kind of thought maybe I was being a bit too aggressive because
Sure.
over the course of, a whole year, I'm on LinkedIn every single day. I'm engaging with people. I'm doing all
But
sorts
look
of
at you
stuff.
now, man.
Look, it's not that hard. All you got to do is just get out there and just get your foot in the door. And I'm like, well, if I have the next 6 months to really work this hard,
Why not?
why can't I go up higher?
Exactly. It's such a good point. And it's like, that's another thing. Like, put the noise away. If people are talking like, why are you on LinkedIn? I saw it too, and I thought it was awesome. I'm in everybody's face with the podcast on every single social media platform. I'm posting multiple times a day. I'm like,
And
listen
I'm
to the
so
podcast,
glad.
listen to the podcast, listen to the podcast. It's been 15 months of that. I'm pretty sure if you know me at some point, you know that I have a podcast. So that's the way I want it to be. And if you don't want that, then it's really easy. You can just unfollow me. But for people that follow me, you're going to know I have a podcast, and it's like that for a reason. So inversely, if you want to get a job, you can just get on whatever social media platform. LinkedIn, I think, is still underrated. I think it has a lot of potential. You get on there, you engage with the community, you find the people that you want to work with, find the sector that you want to work with, and you just engage. It's like social platform. Be freaking social, man. Like, go out there, talk to people, ask them how it is. You can literally hit people up from where you're working, or I'm sorry, where you want to work, and ask them like, how's it working here? Is it really like the recruiter says it is like? And people, I do that all the time for where I work, and I don't mind doing that. So the possibilities are endless, and you definitely took a hold of it and just rode it, man. You rode it, rode it right into the sunset, and you took full advantage of it. And it's just awesome to see you succeed in that way.
Yeah, it worked out pretty good. And I met a lot of amazing people throughout the process too. So it was kind of, just nothing but bonus.
Yeah, and you just where do you? So I guess I'll go back to this. It's nothing but bonus, yeah. And where do you see yourself going with it? I mean, I know yours is very recent for you, and we're talking about kind of figuring out where you want to be in 5 years. But I feel like you might be the individual to ask this question too. Like, do you kind of know the direction you want to take it? Do you want to grow vertically in your job right now? And we don't have to say where you're working because I don't either. But how do you feel about where you're at right now?
Yeah, I love it. So I'm a security consultant, information security consultant for a Fortune 100 company. I might be a little up higher. I don't want to disclose too much, but I love it so far. I work out of a nice office. My boss is over in Boston. I really get to kind of manage a lot of the project myself and be able to dive deeper into different parts of information security. Two of the jobs I passed up were chief information security officer for some smaller cities back in Virginia. And this doesn't have nearly the same title. So that was another thing, not having to look at specifically the money, not getting blinded by like the title. 'Cause, the title sounds great.
Yeah.
But, it could have been a situation I walked into to what that could have been a nightmare. But this I ended up thinking was the perfect fit. And now that I'm in the role, I absolutely love it.
That's awesome.
And, at this point in my life, I'm not sure if going up any higher is worth the money. I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze.
Yeah, that's something to consider too, man, for sure. Like, there's just that certain
weekends.
Yeah, exactly. There's that certain point where, okay, I'm making like, enough to be comfortable. Do I want to add that kind of could be unnecessary stress? So it's different for other people, but I think it goes all the way back to what you said about when you were doing YouTube, and just don't just when you said when you're all the way back to your beginning of your 20s, and don't just chase the money. And now you're not chasing the money, and the money has come. And I don't know how many books I've read where I've heard that too. So here's two other people, myself and Jacob, that have done that as well. Like, I just wanted to go out there. I wanted to get a good job that would challenge me, work with people that would challenge me, and that I also enjoyed to work with. It was a good work environment. I chose that specifically. And, now I'm taken care of, and my family's taken care of. So there's all that out there. And I just wanted to ask you kind of like post-transition how you felt. So I do appreciate you sharing that with us, and that you made the right decision. And it just constantly goes back to what we were both saying so many times. It's just, if you prepare for it and you do your due diligence and you look around and you connect with people and you ask people questions, you ask people the right questions, more than likely you'll set yourself up for success. And even if you don't obtain that immediately, if you continue, you will see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, listen, Jacob, man, I absolutely appreciate talking to you in such a way. I've always enjoyed our talks, our lunches, our phone calls, and it's really fun and incredible to be able to talk to you in such a way, to put you on the podcast and share your transitional story to other people out there. And like I said, for those of you listening, whether you're in the military or whether you're outside of the military, it's applicable to all, and obviously some was applicable to just military, but the keys to take away are that it's possible. You can create and blaze the path that you want to do. If you have a goal, then set it down. Like, make it a hard goal, then make a plan to get after it, and it's very feasible. If you go out there and you ask the right questions, you connect with people, and you don't sell yourself short, you can get after it. All right, man. Well, like I said, I really appreciate it. I'm really thankful for your time you've given us now that you're a busy guy doing crazy things. But no, I do appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me.
All right, man. We'll see you later. Have a good night.
You too, brother.